What's up, everybody? This is Alex Christoforou from the Duran, and I have with me Peter Lavelle, host of RT's CrossTalk. And today we're going to be talking about the ban on Alex Jones's Infowars. So Peter, there's a general censorship in the air on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Even Apple is getting in on the action. And usually that censorship and the bans that are levied are on conservative news outlets, conservative pundits, conservative talk radio and podcasts. And perhaps the most high profile is Alex Jones of Infowars. Now, call him what you want. Some people say he's radical, he's a conspiracy theorist. Other people, follow him religiously. And there's no doubt about it that he has a huge audience. I would say one of the biggest audiences. But he is getting banned by just about every social media platform. And now Apple has announced that they are removing, I believe, 6 of his podcasts under hate speech guidelines. Can you hate speech? Can you get into this this recent ban on, number one, conservative-leaning media, and dive a little deeper into Alex Jones and why you believe they're targeting him specifically and very aggressively?
Well, if we think of the whole idea of social media, it's a good idea. It's a next generation of technology that creates a public square. I think everybody thinks that's a good idea. I do. But the problem is the platforms of social media are owned and run by liberals, and most of them are ideologically possessed. So they have created something that is inherently illogical, and it won't work business-wise, and I'll get to that. They've created a public square with private security. They're the private security.
Right.
Now, they're short-circuiting the very idea of what these platforms are supposed to be all about. And so with Alex Jones, I disagree with him a great deal of the time, to be honest with you. But there's Roger Stone on that platform. I think somebody very much worth listening to. Okay, he's got great suits, he's got great taste, he's got an ego as big as an apartment building. But he has some very interesting things to say that you won't hear in the mainstream. It's all about freedom of speech. You can't. First of all, hate speech. It is not illegal in the United States. Hello, everyone. All of these companies are domiciled in the United States. The Supreme Court has ruled. You hear it all the time in liberal media. That's hate speech. That's hate. You can call it what you want, but it's not illegal. And the Supreme Court has ruled on this. So they keep throwing this around as if it's real. Another point. Alex, maybe I'm missing something here. Do you know a single person living on this planet who is forced to listen and watch Infowars? Do you know anyone that's forced? Is anybody tied down and their eyelids, opened up like in a Clockwork Orange? Does anyone have to watch this content? No.
No, actually, right? The reverse can be true if you say that the algorithms are purposely skewed to push up the liberal contents, the Voxes, the MSNBCs, the CNNs, and the algorithms are skewed to suppress.
But sure, and
but no one is forced. But no one is forced.
No one is forced, and what you're saying is limited choices. Yes, right. Absolutely right. Like where I work at RT, now I always say to my critics, who is forced to watch it? Because it's suppressed, but people still watch it. So you explain to me. Now, another thing that's happening here, particularly with Twitter, and we'll talk about that in a separate video, but Twitter and Facebook, for example, they're destroying their business model. People are turning away. They see the blatant censorship and political bias. You can't have a public square with a private security company. It doesn't work. And Facebook, for example, they're facing the ultimate challenge. They can't expand anymore. They're going to have to get really smart. Why are you alienating hundreds of millions of people? This is ridiculous. Twitter is showing their, hypocrisy that is just so, it's almost difficult to fathom the hypocrisy of Twitter. And so what is happening, and, they're annoying, pissing off conservatives. But you know what, Alex? There are conservatives in Congress. There are very strong originalists in courts in the United States. Hopefully Kavanaugh will be appointed soon, and we'll have another one on the Supreme Court. Okay? If Twitter and Facebook and even Apple with their internet presence, if they're not careful, they're going to face being turned into a utility. They're going to lose it all. Okay. Now, turning it into a public utility, is that the best solution? Well, then that means the government's running it. That's not always a good solution. No. Zuckerberg, he had it all. Okay. He could have just been fair and not be ideologically possessed like he is, and he's destroying his own company. I mean, I think he lost more money last week than any other single human being in the history of exchanges as an individual. All right. So, I mean, this going after, see, now you've turned Alex Jones into a martyr. That's what you've done, liberals. You've elevated him. Is that what you wanted? Because that's what's happening. The more you suppress speech, the more people want to know. Right. Okay, I'm not a big fan of Alex Jones, not at all. But he has a right to speak. What laws does he break? I'm waiting, liberals. What laws does he break?
How do you get into the argument? What's your point of view, Peter, when playing devil's advocate, people say, well, it's a private company, so they have the right to ban whoever they want. But at the same time, when these companies started, they operated under the premise, Facebook, Twitter, that it's an open platform for everybody. So where do you stand on this argument? Well,
it is a private company, fine. Well, I don't pay to be on these platforms. Nobody has to pay. But that's fine. But you cannot say it's an open platform when you start putting very selective rules to it. Now, like on Facebook, there should be no pornography. I mean, for God's sake, there's so much pornography on the internet. Why should it be on Facebook? Okay, but if I am against wars in the Middle East, why should I be discriminated against? How is that? I mean, I can understand. It's rules and regulations and being sensitive to the community. This is where we get all the censorship, the origins of it. I mean, based on community standards. Now, this is writ large. Now, if you want to start banning people, I think it has to be for a criminal reason, not just an opinion, because these platforms are built on giving people the right to express their opinion. There's plenty of stuff on Facebook that is nuts, crazy, false, fake. But it's up to the individual on the public square to make that decision. It shouldn't be, because it's a slippery slope. Once you start saying, I don't, people that are against abortion, we ban you. Okay, you ban conservatives because they don't want foreign wars. I mean, it's just a slippery slope, and then you're just going to have just clickbait and nonsense, which of course the legacy media loves all this crisis going on because they want their monopoly back. Right. As we said on CrossTalk, NBC saying, Facebook should be shut down for the next 3 months before the midterms. That's exactly what they want to do, Alex. They want to shut these platforms down because they can't control narratives. I mean, Alex Jones, for better or worse, sometimes can control the narrative. President Donald J. Trump on Twitter can control the narrative. This is not what they want. And they find it unacceptable.
Yeah, it's kind of funny to see that it's the same mainstream liberal media that wants Facebook shut down while Facebook is doing the bidding of the liberal Main Street corporations that own the liberal Main Street media. It's like you say many times on CrossTalk, it's a circular firing squad, and I mean they're just shooting each other. But I mean, go back to Alex Jones and tell us why you think they're really targeting him so aggressively. What's the real reason they're doing this? And it's not free hate speech and all that. I mean, those things, but why are they targeting him specifically?
Because First of all, he is a real renegade. I mean, you got to give that to him. And renegade, I think, is kind of a neutral term. I mean, that can be open to many interpretations. He presents a view of the world that is very much counter to what the mainstream wants to promote. And I mean, we can go back. My favorite benchmark, because it is in the internet age, is the illegal invasion of Iraq in 2003. People started realizing, what? There weren't any weapons there? And then the 2008-2009 financial crisis. I mean, we needed alternative media to explain to us what happened. And they're losing control. And the Democrats the liberals are more afraid of this than anything else, because they see with alternatives, particularly like Alex Jones, which I find to be a very quirky guy, all right? But they see their hegemonic control moving further and further away from them, okay? Their basis of power is dissipating. They're terrified of that. They're terrified of it. And the more this happens, even what would they consider their part of the political spectrum, it's fragmenting. It's fragmenting within their area of the spectrum. Not is so much so on the conservative side, though it is happening. So they see everything getting fragmented, and they really want. I mean, the thing is that if they can successfully go after Alex Jones, then it's just a matter of time before they get everybody else, including us.
Right, and that goes and yeah, that's something that everyone should consider. Especially if you're on the conservative side of broadcasting podcasts and news shows like this one. But address the fact that conservatives dominate so much on platforms like YouTube and Facebook, and they do well on Twitter as well, which is a very liberal leaning type of social media. But on YouTube, they really shine. Mark Dice, when he drops a video, it gets millions of views. Paul Joseph Watson, who's part of Alex Jones's Infowars, when he drops a video, it gets millions of views. Explain to us why these guys, literally one-man shops, are beating CNN and MSNBC, and how could YouTube and Facebook and Twitter possibly shut them down? Aren't they going to find a different outlet to voice their opinion?
What happens is, almost in any workplace, but particularly in media, when you hire people like yourselves, okay? So it's a very selective group of people that are let into the door. Look at the New York Times. What's her name? Sarah Jong, the racist? You know, it's outrageous what she had to say, but no, she actually fits in very well with the culture of liberal media. So it's the employment. I mean, if you look at a newsroom in New York and in Washington, in Los Angeles, I guess just a simple example, you're not going to find one Trump supporter. Not one. And if you do, you keep your mouth shut. Yeah. So what they do is they reproduce themselves. It's very incestuous. That's why they find it galling that, someone could defend and support Donald Trump. It just, they have some kind of attack. And it's because they live in an environment that is so self-referential that they can't even conceive anything outside of it. And not only is it anybody that thinks outside of that, not only are they wrong, it's worse, they're morally wrong. They put into this moral dimension. And the interesting thing is that the conservatives don't do that. Conservatives will say, I think you're wrong, but don't go around saying you're evil. See, it's what the left does. They virtue signal. The right, they're a much more, they're not always the smartest people on the right, unfortunately, I have to say, okay? Unfortunately. But they have a consistency, and they're not welcome into the mainstream. And that's why they've found new outlets. They've found outlets on YouTube, on Twitter. It's really remarkable. It's because of this very self-selecting cultures. And it's all on the East Coast. It's all, this Sarah Jong, I mean, she's Harvard. She was at another big school. I mean, it just, of course, she's a shining light for the New York Times because that's what they see themselves in her.
Right.
And this is one of the things that makes it worse. It's getting worse and worse. And people like the Sarah Jong, she cannot engage people like us because it would be immoral. You can't engage someone that is demonic in their minds, and that's how they truly see people like us. Okay, truly they do.
Yeah,
I mean, that Twitter stuff is insane.
Yeah.
Though perfectly understandable.
Yeah, and
All
you
right,
have guys like Stefan Molyneux and Steven Crowder who are on the libertarian or conservative side of things, and they're constantly looking to engage with people with opposing views, and they're looking to get the other side's take on things, where you never see that. You rarely see that on the liberal side.
You know, this morning, my first day of vacation, this morning I took a look at his tour with a young woman in Australia and New Zealand, and in one of the venues they were just they signed all the contracts, and then they weren't allowed to go on stage. Yeah, correct. Thank you. And then they were on I think it was in New Zealand, and I mean the hostility of the presenter wouldn't even let Stefan answer questions. He just said, "Are you just ask me a question? Can I just answer it?"
Yeah.
No, you can't. I'm not going to let you. I mean, then why are you doing the interview? That's how people like us would say. Then what's the point?
Yeah.
If you don't give the right answer, we don't even want to talk to you. That's totalitarian. That is a totalitarian mindset. Okay, this is exactly what's happening on the left. I keep telling you, these people are politically possessed.
And they're taking that totalitarian concept and they're moving it onto the platforms.
Yeah, but
everyone uses.
But it's a dragon that's eating its own tail. They're destroying their business model in the process.
Right.
Okay? Circular firing squad. Just watch.
There you go. On that note, an interesting quote that Paul Joseph Watson always says, conservatism is the new punk rock. He may have a point.
Well, Johnny Rotten's come out and supported Donald Trump. Wow.
Boom. There you go. There you go. And on that note, with a little Sex Pistols reference, we will end this segment. Peter Lavelle, host of RT's CrossTalk. Thank you very much. Guys, if you liked the video, click on the subscribe button down below and click on the notifications bell to get notifications every time we push out a new video. And remember, visit the Duran shop. Help support the Duran. Buy a t-shirt. Peter Lavelle, host of RT's CrossTalk. Thank you very much. Until next time, take care.